Superbooth 2019. It's Tom from Syntonovo and welcome to a new video. I'm here of the booth of Syntonovo and I'm with Felix. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Superbooth day one, you survived it. It's near done. We are near the 7 hours.
At 7 o'clock, and it's yes, we are almost surviving. Yes.
Syntonovo is a new company, or is it known?
It's a new old company. It's a new old company. It's basically a rebirth of a company called SYNTH in the 80s and 90s of the previous century. So that's what we are now. We started to do things from scratch.
What's your background? If you check, do you created already several synthesizers, or?
Yes, my personal background is music and technology, and my personal interest is control of electronic music instruments. And not just keyboards or wind instruments, but how do we control the sounds which can be generated electronically. That's my personal interest, the interface actually.
And what you have done before in this company, because you're at the rebirth?
In Synth, we did modular systems, custom design modular systems for conservatories and studios, and we did vocoders. Actually, quite a number of them, and we had a certain reputation, a good reputation with vocoders. And we did a Syrinx, which was a monophonic synthesizer, analog, of course, in the 80s, early 80s, and we launched it at the totally wrong moment, which was the moment that Yamaha introduced their DX7. So everybody was into polyphonic. FM, frequency modulation synthesis, and we were sitting there with an old-fashioned, all of a sudden old-fashioned semi-modular Syrinx synthesizer, monophonic. So that was difficult.
Maybe now it's the better moment for launching, but you are a Superbooth not with an old product, but with a pen. It was already on Superbooth last year, I think.
And the year before that as well, yes. We showed it for the first time in 2017 here.
And that was prototype number 1, 2?
That was a development system, and which I explained also clearly to the people who interviewed us. I said, no, this is just to find out how we are going to configure a definite model for production. So that's what we did in the past 2 years.
And now, 1 year later?
2 years.
Or 2 years later, yes. What happens to the pen? So you develop it further, I think?
Yes.
You have an interface, a new interface, I think?
What we see now is a development, a continuous development of the previous model. And what you see here is actually the model which we are going to produce. So there are some software issues still to resolve. They need attention because it is a very complex system and we don't want it to be too complex for the players. I mean, a complex system needs to be learned to be played, and we want to make it as simple as possible because, again, I'm the person who is mostly interested in human interfacing to such complicated matters. So what we would like to do is do a one-page manual, but we're not going to arrive to that. It will probably be a 10-page manual.
If you reach 1-page manual, I give you next time a free beer.
Oh, thank you very much. I guess.
That would be very unique in the synthesizer department, yes. A manual of 1 page.
Yeah, but you have to put your demands very high up. Otherwise you will never arrive somewhere. So a 1-page manual, yes, I now know that is very far-fetched. But and at least any system which is complicated as this one and as most of the systems you see around needs to be made to a level that people intuitively learn to play, and that's very difficult because you must imagine that basically what we have is a matrix of over 100 points by over 100 points. That's already 10,000 points. And this is very difficult to determine which connections you want to scrap because they only complicate matters, and then somebody else says, yeah, but it is very interesting if we do this and that and such and so. So this is really very complex.
Maybe some people doesn't know yet the pen. So let's go in the detail, a bit more in the details. What is pen? It's a monophonic synth, or it's a
monophonic, duophonic, paraphonic. You can. It is in a way. It is. It could be also polyphonic, but the philosophy behind this instrument is that a sound maker, and this is the customer we have in mind, a sound maker, wants to make his own voices, his own pre-patches, his own editable pre-patches. So he makes a sound, and he is not depending on libraries which are put out by other companies and be played through USB or MIDI or whatever. So you make your own sound. If you get this instrument, there will be a few presets, but other than that, the musician will have to make his own voices.
So you leave you probably say before buying this synth you must have a big knowledge in sound design, otherwise it will be quite heavy to understand what you are doing with the synth.
I think what you need basically, and which I hope every musician does, you need ears, because you can put anything on the panel, on the display, and you can put any setting in knobs or in numbers or whatever, but in the end it arrives here, and this is what you need to make it, and this comes from the heart. And in performing, because this also should be a performing instrument, so you make your pre-patch, your presets, and you call them, and then you play, and then you have immediate access to a detail, a tiny detail, because you may say at the stage where you are playing, you will say, no, I want some more beatings between oscillators. So you touch this oscillator and you change it just a little bit, and then you get the beatings which you want. Like, and this is part of the performance. So this is not a machine only for making multi-track music, but it is also for performance.
And let's talk about the engine. I see you have 8 oscillators. Is that right? I think it's good to checking out maybe with my random camera guy again. So we have 8 oscillators, yes. And so we have triangle, pulse, saw.
Sine waves, but you can switch them to square waves, sawtooth, pulse modulation, etc. And you can combine them. And even the sine waves have a pulse output as well. So you can use that pulse output and pulse modulate it and filter it. And then the interesting part, of course, is because that's only crude sounds. And you can hear them all over, and then the filtering part comes in, and this is what you hear all over as well, but they are pretty typical and standard sounds. You hear wow, wow, well, down, down, down. You hear sounds like that, but we have, like we had in the Syrinx, in that unsellable instrument 32 years ago, we had a filter which we called a four-man filter, which are 4 filters. And you see here the routing of the filters, and you can put them in series, in parallel, and with the four-man filter you can mimic even vocal sounds. So that is one specialty of the instrument.
It's one of the highlights, or the big highlight of the instruments, that you are free what you are doing, so that you can configure.
Totally, like a modular system actually. But a modular system, a traditional modular system, is with cables, and the difference is that this one remembers the patches you have made. So if you have made the ultimate sound, finally, then you can just hit it and store it somewhere, and then you have it stored. Which is nice, and you can't do that with a modular system with patch cords. You should have to take a picture of it, where the cables are and how the knob settings are, which is of course impossible. So, yes?
8 oscillators, you have 4 filters?
Yes.
And these filters have different characteristics, as you said.
Yes, bandpass, notch, high pass, low pass.
And the normal low pass now, on what is it based? Is it a known chip or is it a known chip?
No. These are discrete chips. We made the filters ourselves, and everything here is analog. Huh? You should not forget that it's analog synthesis. Only the control part, even the keyboard is analog. It generates analog control voltages. So this is analog. The only thing which is not analog is the memory function, and the envelope shapers, for instance, are not analog. They are digitally created.
Decision then to making digital envelopes or LFOs or...
Yeah, that is a decision. You never know if it's the right decision, but it's done because of the fact that everything is possible and almost unlimitedly possible. So then you choose for a method, and you don't choose for just 2 envelope generators or 3 or 4. And you say, no, okay, well, why not 10 or 12 or 20?
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. I think envelopes and LFOs are today so good in digital that they can be used in bigger products.
Oh yes, no, they're good, and the resolution is also very high, and so you can easily do that there. Yeah.
So how many LFOs can be at the same time?
Well, that's if 10, 20, 80, I don't know. I mean, whatever you like. I mean, there is practically no limit to it.
So that can be, you can creating then very crazy sounds with it probably, or very deep modulations and...
Yeah, very refined sounds, because you can practically take any control voltage input and you can control it with any of the envelope generators that you made. So the definition of sound is very, very fine. But it depends, again, it depends on what you hear. If you have ears, you can do it.
Exactly. And I see under this is for the control panel or for the interface.
So you have here you have the settings of the control voltages. So you hit one of the filters, and then you can control what you read here is the amount of control voltage you are adding to a parameter.
So for you, what is the highlight, or what would say, because I heard it has a special keyboard,
yeah.
Maybe that's for me one of the highlights.
Yeah, for me too.
And can you explain it a bit more?
Yeah, but I can't tell you because it's proprietary. But anyway, what it does is you hit the key. Normally, you hit the key and then it's louder or less loud. The harder you hit it, the louder the sounds comes out. It's amplitude. But you can also, you have an X parameter, which is sideways, movement sideways, and a Y parameter, which is like this. And now you are free to address those parameters, X, Y, Z, to whatever module you have in there. So and you don't have to hit the Y, for instance, and do this. You just hit it and do this.
Does it go in the same direction as MPE, or do you think, or is it something different, more refined?
I think it's more refined because it's analog. So it does exactly what you do with your fingers. It's not by approach or whatever. It's totally analog.
And then you have also in the system arpeggiator or sequencer.
We
Or
have no sequencer not. We have an arpeggiator, and we don't have actually that many other frills built in, because this is this is a machine to make a sound with, and not to play licks, repetitively licks, and so this is a thing to play live with.
what for me very stands out is the knob design.
Yeah.
I heard it's your design, the knobs.
Yeah.
And why do you design it like this? Do you don't want some standard knobs, or they have a specialty, or?
Yeah, well, in the first place, you can put a light underneath them. You have seen that change when you do. You see, depending on the routing you have put in, you see different colors which refer to what you have done, and that is one thing, to use color coding. And the other thing is that since they're all encoders, no stops, you have to turn like this, and you there you are. Can you see that, cameraman? And if you use this part of the knob, you can go faster through a number of steps. And if you use this part, you can do it more accurately.
So it's a two-dimensional knob.
Basically it is, because this has a larger radius, so you can do fine tuning here. If I do this here, then I have more result than when I do this here. So I can fine control really, but it's one knob.
And on the both sides, I see you have also modulation.
Yes, these are the
touch plates, not wheels.
Those pads we used for the first time in the synthesizer, which we couldn't sell because of DX7. And it was a very nice way of replacing a wheel or a rubber pad or whatever, because this responds back to you. You have to apply pressure to it, and it pushes back, so you have a better feel. And then we thought, well, if we build it up a bit symmetrical, the whole thing for the controls, why not have two? Then you can make theremin-like effects. This for amplitude and this for pitch. So, but you can actually use these control units to control any parameter.
So I see now in this brief explications here, or overview, that your synth has a lot of features that are very unique or very different thinking of how a monophonic or paraphonic synth should like. So how are the plans now? They are when we can see it on the market, or when?
This what you see here is basically the product which we will put out. We will start producing in September, and so that will take a while before we start shipping. But anyway, this is the unit. What you see here is what you will get, and. Well, we haven't decided, but there will be a limited edition. We haven't decided yet at what number or what quantity we will stop, but it might be 200 or 250 or maybe 300, I don't know. We have a long list of people who subscribed and said, please.
I heard last year you say something of a price of €3,000, or?
We said we hoped to keep it at 3,500, but that is not possible. It will be under 4,000. Under 4,000. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Felix.
Thank
that
you.
Was a very different kind of monophonic or paraphonic or even polyphonic, if you want. So. Big thanks for watching. I wish you good luck for this synth, and that it will come to the market this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
See you in the next videos of the synth anatomy of the Superbooth coverage. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.